is the best part, love is the best part. Love is the best part, love is the best part. Even if it all falls apart, love is the best part, love is the best part.
Hi, we're Jake and Nikki Hamilton. Welcome back to One Flesh, a series where we explore marriages in the hopes that through these stories you hear your own and you realize that the best is still yet to come.
This week, we have the privilege of hearing from Seth and Leigh Thomas. I've known Seth since he was 16 years old. We have traveled the world together. He is an insanely good friend of mine. We have done a lot together, been through a lot together, and you're getting their marriage story really fresh and raw. When they did this interview, they were only in it for about a year. So it's beautiful to hear someone who's just getting started, who's just getting their feet on the ground or figuring out how to do relationship, communication, the whole deal. So I think you're going to get a lot out of this interview. Check it out.
Love is the best part, love is the best part.
We met primarily when we were 16 and on the phone, and this was MySpace era. So we met through mutual friends, but we had never seen each other, and so we saw the way each other looked and stuff on MySpace. We added each other, and really we started talking there, which was really weird because from the beginning, from the moment that we met each other, we were just like instant friends and like felt really connected.
Youth pastor was my youth pastor left our church and went to ICLV. That was the connection.
Right.
We didn't like find each other on MySpace.
Well,
There was a connection from churches and stuff like that.
Christian mingle, that's how we found each other. I met Seth primarily through him, our youth pastor, Pastor Tim. And then we had an internship in Las Vegas, and he came to the internship towards the end. And literally our first time we hung out, he told me that he was going to marry me. We were at a soccer game, and it was the first time we really had ever hung out. I mean, meeting face to face, and he was like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna marry you. And I was like, not ready for that, you know? We were 17. He's like, yeah, I texted my mom and I told my mom I think I found my wife. He was in love from the beginning.
That's the hopeful side that I was talking about.
So really he was there for 2 weeks in Las Vegas, and then we dated for 6 months, and then we broke up. I broke up with him. I'm so sorry. But we were 17 and we were young, and it was my first year of school of ministry, and it was his first year of last year of high school. And so we were and he lived in California and I lived in Las Vegas, and so we were long distance and we were young, and I mean, ultimately God wanted us together, but we just didn't know how to steward that love that young, you know? So I broke up with Seth, and I'm gonna let you tell this side of the story.
Okay.
What did you do after I broke up with you?
Like I said, I was always very hopeful and wishful of everything, so I was like very hopeless, romantic kind of guy. So I was devastated. She was my first girlfriend. I was like, I'm not gonna get over this. I never am gonna get over this. Like, almost borderline stalked her. And basically from that point on, it was kind of like me pursuing her off and on for like 3 years. And there was we both like lived completely different lives, but I could never really fully get over her. And eventually it looked like a moment with me like making the decision that I wanted to get over her, and I just prayed that any kind of like residue that was left over from us in the beginning would kind of get taken away. And the moment that I felt like I didn't need her anymore is when God like really gave her back to me. And about a week and a half after that, she came to San Diego, and I just felt like it was okay to go see her at this conference down in San Diego. And really from that point on, 6 months after that, we got engaged. There was just a complete difference. The way that we approached the relationship wasn't me like needing so much from her, or it was more that we could just enjoy each other and like let God kind of bring the whole thing together, rather than like a huge part of what I needed to live was wrapped up in her.
In your dating relationships, what do you think was good and like, man, this was positive for me to experience in dating because it prepared me in this way?
Right.
But here's some of the things that I wish I would have avoided because I don't know if that's relevant.
No,
Yeah, totally.
But I just feel like there's not really anybody else we're going to talk to that's so close to that. You guys are still so
Stage.
young in that stage.
Yeah.
So dating was, for me, was good in certain cases because I got to see what like I knew. It just reaffirmed what I knew I wanted, you know. And I think like having the time and without pressure to like hang out with someone and like with healthy boundaries and all that stuff allows you to see how compatible you are.
Exactly.
And just reassures you like what you're looking for. And if someone even, you know, you can hang out. You know, there's a lot of times where I'd go on dates and girls didn't like this, like good food or like, you know, stuff that I enjoyed or something like that. I was like, I don't feel like this is gonna be fun, you know? And I know that might sound vain or something like that, but really it is like important to be able to do stuff that you enjoy doing and making sure that you guys could be best friends rather than, you know, someone that you feel like you're supposed to be with, or you've already committed so much, like, you know, certain cases you feel like, all right, I've already committed to you in this way, so I have to fulfill it.
Right.
And dating in a casual way really allowed me to like figure out and reassure me what it was that I was looking for in my wife.
Being young and dating, oftentimes you're so wrapped up in passion and love and all of that stuff that you don't want to listen to anybody else. So you forget wisdom and you don't follow the truth. And you make unwise decisions, that's the truth, and it leads into your marriage, it really does. I was in a relationship before Seth that everybody told me no to, everybody, and it was exactly what I should have listened to. I ended up bringing that into our relationship because there were just broken pieces in that, you know? My mom always told me growing up, like, when you're married, you're gonna have to humble yourself and apologize when you don't want to, and that was something that I did not want to listen to for a couple months, and I learned that even when I don't feel like I'm wrong or I don't want to apologize and say sorry to Seth, I have to make him feel like I'm genuinely sorry because I just love him.
First year of marriage was insane for me and awesome. It wasn't bad. Like, I totally believe that, like, there was a lot of people. The cool part for us, before I say all this, is that I was really, I was around a lot of people like you guys and Kat D and most people that are in this interview and all this stuff to watch and to get a lot of advice from. So I knew going into the first year of marriage that we could make it whatever we wanted it to be, and like as low as we got, like the quicker and the easier, not easier, but like the best it would be, you know.
Right.
We were 20, 21. And we didn't know what like real responsibility was like. So me being married also introduced me to paying rent for the first time. And so there was a lot of stresses that I felt came with it, you know?
Yeah.
And especially like with the way that I was growing up, like the way that I was brought up was that the husband was the provider. That's what he did, that more than anything, you know, was that he, like, that was the, like, what you did was you were a provider. So I felt like in a lot of ways, sometimes because I'm trying to pursue what I feel God's called me to do in music, and there was time of like lack that I felt like I wasn't doing a good job at that. And our first year of marriage really looked like me learning that God is the ultimate provider, trust, and really what it was like to prefer somebody and like get really low. But it was super like intense because it was so much at one time. There's a lot of people like giving us advice not to get married until you're like 25 or something like that, so you're a little bit more steady.
Yeah.
And like I remember, like, to be completely honest, I remember being like, man, I wonder if I should have waited. Like, I wonder if this is like too much too soon.
Right.
And realizing that, like, you know, it's our jobs now to figure out what it's like to grow up with the two of us. Like, how do we do this together? How do we figure out who each other are? You know, because so much does change from 18 to 25. Like, we're now figuring out in marriage who we are, what is it we like, who do we want to be, what does it look like to be mature. So the first year was really like really like a punch to the face of what that would be like, as far as like, we got to figure out this together. You know, like, we're young and we're married and we got to figure out what all this looks like.
In the first year of our marriage, there were hard times and there were moments where I was growing up and he was growing up. And it was difficult. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, but through all of that, I never felt unloved, or like this was a wrong choice, or we did this too early, or I have felt more full and alive than I ever have in my entire life because I said yes to someone, you know? I mean, and our journey is different. It's different. Like, really what we're doing is I want Seth to have every single one of his dreams come true. Every single one. And vicariously I live through him because I don't have the one thing I want to pursue, you know? So he has this one thing that he's so good at that he pursues, that in our first year I felt envious towards it, and it came out in probably anger or frustration, like, you look together and I look a mess, and I resent you almost for it. And in those moments where I could have resented him, like, he's gone and I'm here and I'm alone and I'm not with my family or anything like that, I chose to like remember that I said yes to this journey with us, and that it looks different and it's okay. It doesn't look like my mom and dad's marriage or a conventional marriage, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to pity me, you know, this has been hard. It's not been that hard. You know, I have felt loved every single day, literally. Even if we fight, Seth will still hug me, you know, and that's like my number one love language is physical touch. Like, he has to love me physically. Yeah. So even if we're fighting or he can't physically do that, he's just so emotionally there for me that there's never been a moment where I've been like, oh my gosh, marriage is the most difficult thing, you know.
So how, because of the calling thing and the talent thing and all the stuff that we know about you and that obviously is recognized, you know, like, how do you show Lay that you prefer her above the calling and the gift and the faith?
Yeah, that's been super difficult because one of her strongest love languages is physical touch. So it's like, how do you demonstrate that, or how do you show her that you love her or prefer her when one of the main ways that she feels love is something that I can't offer her because I'm on the other side of the country. And for me, what it really looks like is when I'm home, I'm home. You know, and for me, I'm you know, constantly tapping on things or distracted by whatever's, you know, happening. And it's really hard for me to stay focused on what's happening. And really just when I'm home, making that sure she has not just me, but like the best of me. That like my craft isn't getting like the most of me or the better part of me, or the, you know, I'm like, when I'm home, I'm like loving on her exactly the way she needs it. And then, because on the road, I mean, you can't like turn it on all of a sudden once you're gone, you know. It's something that has to be already established. The same way like when you lead worship, like you don't just turn it on when you go on stage. It's a result of what you were doing in the secret place, and it's evident as soon as you get on stage. So the same way that as soon as I get on an airplane or somewhere to go somewhere, it's totally evident what I was doing at home, because if she's upset already, it's probably because I was super selfish and wasn't preferring her at all the 2 weeks I was home. And so really, like, I feel like the meat of it is when I'm home, that I'm happy, that I'm easy to be around, I'm not a distracted person, I'm patient and kind with her. And then on the road, just making sure that she knows that I'm thinking about her, that I'm texting her and FaceTiming. And that's the part that I really suck at, because I just am so distracted. Like, I don't do the best job of doing it at times, to be honest. But just making sure that she knows that, like, I'm thinking of her and loving her, and thinking and like really praying that God will give me creative ideas to demonstrate like how I feel from her at a distance. Like, I really do think that's something that I could pray for. It's like, God, how do I communicate to my wife that that I love her and I'm thinking of her when I'm this far away? Like, if this is the calling that you've given me, help me, like, give me the tools to make her feel loved even when I'm not there. And that stuff does come, and that stuff does happen, and he sends more and more people to help build this, you know, this thing that we have, and we've just been so blessed to kind of set these things in place a year and a half in, or right when we first got married, rather than 10, 12 years down the road, we're like, okay, tear it down, we gotta do this again, you know, so.
Right. I feel so much more secure in myself now, you know, and a lot of that came through feeling loved, just knowing that I was loved and I was valued and I was worth something, and that if it was ever too much what he was doing, he would lay it down for me. If it was ever too much, that he would still prefer me, that it wasn't like I was the secondhand dream, I was the dream.
Yeah.
You know, so that just made me full. It made me alive.
That's good.
I know that I'm fulfilled, you know, and if ever I say no, it's done. I know that, you know.
In my family line, there hasn't been a lot of successful marriages, and I feel like my dad and my mom have done such a great job at setting the new norm that you can work through it. I want mine to be, you can do it, and doing it exactly what you love to do, and like creating a place where we feel loved and preferred, and that we're like we're always first, but really creating a place where our kids can dream and that they can be accomplished. And like just creating like a very like safe place. This is probably coming from like where we're at right now because of how difficult it is to chase what we're chasing right now.
Yeah.
A lot of this is coming from us being really young and being like, for us, you know, probably making it like somewhat of an easier place for people to prefer their dreams, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I know this will change, but just to say what's first on my mind would be that, to have and what she's saying to have a safe home, a place where like it's okay, and our kids and both of us still feel that it's possible to do what everybody thinks is impossible, or whatever God's called you to do, you know.
For you guys, where you're at, since we're interviewing so many different marriages, the goal is different seasons, different places in life. Based on where you guys are at, based on your experience, what advice or what practical, like kind of here, this is what I wish somebody would have shared with me. Like in your shoes, what would you want to share with somebody else?
I would say, in being married young, that the thing that I would advise is not only to like make your wife's dreams come true, but encourage her in who she is. And what I wish I would have known a year ago, I think it was only a year ago, but I wouldn't have pushed so hard to find her calling and her dreams. I would have more encouraged her in who she is and her identity, and let her know what I think of her and what God thinks of her, rather than what are we going to do, how are we going to get there, what does that look like, what are you going to do, because that was always my thing. And really, I've always known what I wanted to do, but really us finding who we are to each other, who we are in God's eyes as a father, like what does that all look like. So if I encourage people, it would be to start there.
We grew up in church, so everybody gets married young. You're 18 and you're wanting to get married. So I know so many young married couples or people who just got married or who want to be married really bad. It would be to choose, well, obviously exactly who God has for you, but be very wise with who you're choosing, There were opportunities where I could have married somebody else, but this is who God had for me, and it works, our marriage works exactly how it's supposed to, because I married somebody extremely compatible for me, Like, he loves me well, exactly how God wanted me to be loved and stewarded and all those things, So just being very careful. And had he picked somebody who needed consistent 9 to 5, they would struggle, right now. It just is like, I'm
Love is the best part, love is the best part.
I loved interviewing Seth and Leigh and really getting to hear the beginning of their journey and watching them walk through what it's like to walk out marriage in the first year. And what struck me is they had this really great tool and language of preferring one another. That's what I stepped away with from from that interview, and Jake and I talked about, wow, I love that, because it is so important in your marriage to know that you are the one that's being preferred, to know that through all circumstances and all seasons, although things will get our attention, ultimately, when it really comes down to it, I know that your value is for me, that your preference is for me. And so to have just a word like that in times of struggle or in times where life is busy and crazy, to be able to go, hey, can we stop for a minute? I just have to let you know, I'm not feeling preferred right now. I'm not feeling valued.
I've heard it a few times.
I use the tools, which I think is important.
I do think it's important. So whether you've been married 5 minutes or 45 years, we want to pray for you right now, because you can always start again today. What I love is his mercies are new every single morning. You get an opportunity to say, hey, I wasn't being preferred yesterday, last week, last month, last year. I just want to choose right now that I want to say that I prefer you, and I want to make decisions and choices for our family, for our marriage, that shows it. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to show it. So let's just pray for that right now, Lord. Whoever's watching, we just ask right now they take just a couple minutes just to stop, and that you would show them, Holy Spirit, the areas of their marriage, of their life, of their family, where they're making decisions. Although their voice may say, I prefer you, God, show them right now what decisions they're making in their family, in their relationships, that are showing with their actions that we don't prefer each other. Show it to them. Show them where the lack is. Show them where they're missing it. And God, give them healing right now. Give them opportunity to seek repentance. We just ask that you guys would go even now. Take 5 seconds to just say, hey, I'm really sorry I haven't preferred you. And take a few minutes just to repent. Just start over. Like really, just stop. Start again. And we just ask God that you would show them, give them real strategy. We ask for a spirit of wisdom to come into these relationships, to show them exactly how they can prefer one another, choose one another, and move forward in strength. From this day, they would move forward in strength, in Jesus' name. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time on One Flesh.
Your love is the best part, love is the best part. Love is the best part, love is the best part.